I think everyone was welcome you all. So, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Pooja. Again, good afternoon to all listeners.
Very good
How are you
afternoon.
doing?
I am absolutely okay. Good afternoon to all the participants.
So, I am very happy to welcome both of you in the first episode of Enabling Future Lawyers. It's
Thank
my
you.
pleasure to have a panel like this, the Vice Chancellor of
Thank
TNT
you.
University and a very renowned lawyer with us. So, we have today Advocate Jaydeep Mehta, who is a designated partner for LexStreet Advisors LLP, and Dr. Raghuvir Singh, who is the Vice Chancellor of Teerthanker Mahaveer University, Moradabad, UP. So the today's topic is law and management, two pillars who are well known for keeping the society updated. Uh, Firstly, I want to ask, how do you think, Raghuvir sir, how law and management are interlinked with each other?
Now, is question to me, Pooja?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, law and management, for the from the student's point of view, like it's basically education. Let me look at. It's an education, and education is nothing to do with boundaries.
Right.
No, it doesn't have to do with verticals. When you talk about the word, when you look at education, it comes from a Latin word called educare.
Right.
Now, educare means to bring out from within. Now, what do we bring out is the potential of an individual. Now, when you talk about potential of individual, that is the holistic individual. So when we talk about education, it's all about the complete person, his mind, his heart, and his body. We popularly call it 3Hs. That
Right.
is head, heart, and mind.
Hmm.
But when you look at today's modern education,
Hmm.
a very small part of our head is used.
Correct.
And that small part is used only for the purpose of remembering and little bit understanding.
Hmm.
So the entire emphasis is on content. Content is the focus. Whether it is online or offline, classroom, outside the classroom, the people are running after content. And that's happening right from the school till the postgraduate level.
Right.
Now that why I'm saying is this very small part of the body is used is because of that, because your mind is a highly fertile.
Hmm.
It does what you give to it. Now, if you don't use a mind during your college time or in the your education time for the purpose of higher order inquiries or higher order intelligence or developing higher order thinking, that is your ability to apply, analyze, evaluate, and create something.
Correct.
So you'll not be able to use your brain
The
potential. Your
Hmm.
concerns, people concerned for environment, affect your psychomotor, that is ability to do. Ability to do. Now, when you are a lawyer, your content is available today everywhere. You don't need to go to a college for content.
Hmm. Right.
What you need to learn is other aspects of education.
Hmm.
You understand the holistic view of the society, the people, the context, everything. We call it a 4 levels of education. That's one is factual. Factual is all about content. Then is your conceptual education. That is your ability to relate your own profession, your own content with other aspects to the society, to the environment, other subjects, other areas. That's conceptual. Can you use that content which you learned? Can you put it in practice? And finally called metacognitive. That means, do you know what you know? Do you know what you don't know?
Hmm.
That is knowledge about the knowledge. So irrespective of any profession today, your degrees in the future would be more of a bespoke. When I say bespoke means we need to construct a degree around problems. not around subjects which is currently happening. So if I'm doing a law, that means I'm packed with all law courses. Every subject I learn is about law, but that's not what is the actual requirement. You got to solve legal problems of the people. You see, the objective is solve your legal problems of the people. Provide them legal aid, which requires much broader understanding. Management is though very, very important. Your economic knowledge, your sociology understanding, understanding of the people, population, government rules, legislation, politics, everything has to be learned by the people who are into the profession of law. See, packing people with content is not going to make them good lawyers, let me tell you. Because as an institution, my job is to make him to learn how to learn in future. That is develop his basic intelligence. And the rest he will continue to learn. You ask our guest professor, Mr. Jaydeep Mehta, how he has become what he has become today. It's not what he learned in the college. It's all his efforts from then onwards. He's not stopped learning even today. He learns every day. So is the case about me. I'm learning education today, every day in and day out. So this content learning would go on. Contents go on changing. You can't catch up content. You keep hearing a lot of people in the universities and from the industry, universities have to update their content. Why should I update my content every now and then? I can't catch up with the content. Content is so fast changing. My student, if he knows how to learn, would learn continuously the content. He will update himself or herself as the time moves. So what are three important things in the law in my mind is, or other any activity do? The first one is what is to be done. Second is how to be done. And third is why to be done. Now, I was going through, the entire curriculum of 4 years integrated, 5 years integrated program. I nowhere found, that has been, by Bar Council of India, it's been put together, so much details are available. What kind of courses, what kind of, content, how many hours, how many days, and how it will be delivered. Everything is there in the great detail. But I'm sorry to say that I never found why should a student know this? Why should a student study these courses? Why should a student do this given the program? The why is missing. The outcomes for which a student is putting so much of efforts is not defined. And if you don't define why of any activity, you are not going to be as effective as you're supposed to be. Every one of us has to find out the whys of our own actions, the whys of our own activities. That's my take on it.
Yes, sir, correct. As they say that there is no
Pooja, I have one very one suggestion. Can you hear me?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what I suggest, if we can make this session interactive session, so that participants, if they have any specific query, we both of us, so Raghunath and myself, can answer uh, in a practical way.
That can
If
also help
students
us. Yeah, I agree.
yes, that will help the students. That is what I feel. So if you can invite questions, so directly we, based on our past experience, we can give our inputs to law. Even if any lawyers are there, it will be helpful to them, and of course to the law students. There are many law students participants are here, so we can take up questions from them, and then we will answer to them directly,
Yes, sir.
rather
We will
than
take
you
the
asking
audience
the
questions
questions.
at the end. We will take audience questions at the end. And,
Okay.
they, right now they are joining and they will um, post their questions in the comment section and we will take those questions as well.
Okay. Hello.
So, yes, sir. So, as Raghuvir sir said, it gave me an idea to ask you a question that how was your journey while being a law student into a lawyer? How much management skills has helped you?
It is a question for me, right?
Yes, sir. That is
So my journey has been a very it is a very interesting journey. If I tell you, uh, in fact, before entering into legal profession, I was working in a corporate sector, and then a couple of times I went to the Bombay High Court and I saw some of senior colleagues. Then the idea started coming in my mind that I should also join legal profession because it is very very interesting. So I left my corporate and joined my legal profession. But what I did initially that uh, I started attending the Bombay High Court even in the trial courts. Say for because I'm from Bombay, so I started attending say Andheri Court, various trial courts, Metropolitan Magistrate Courts, and Bombay High Court. I started sitting in the High Court and simply listening what the seniors are telling in the court. How do they behave in the court? How do they argue in the court? And then I gained a practical experience by observing the senior counsels and senior advocates in the court. And the most important thing which I observed that they come to the court with full preparation. uh, what is the case, what is the facts of the case. They read the particular law, they read the particular sections, they prepare the petitions accordingly, and they come to the court fully prepared. So that is what I learned. And then gradually, I started also attending various these metropolitan magistrate courts. For example, if I want to say take up a case of say check bouncing matter, so I started going to the Metropolitan Magistrate Court and how the senior advocates are arguing for. So I learned what is the procedure for check bouncing case, how the notice is issued, so how the petitions are filed for check bouncing matters, and that is why how I started learning from senior advocates, and then I became independent. And subsequently, let me tell you, I am happy to inform you that 6 years before I formed my own law firm in the form of LLP with three of my senior colleagues. And today the name of my law firm is LexStreet Advisors LLP, and we are now advocates and solicitor law firm.
Right.
By so what I advise to the law students who are in the room. So my advice to the law student is that you keep rather than of course you uh, keep on reading, that is a basic requirement, but you should also go to the court even if you are in the first semester, second semester. So courts are open for everybody. Let them go to the court, let them observe the senior counsel advocates, how do they argue. So that is how they will learn practical aspects of the law. So that is my advice to the students.
Thank you so
And
much
that
for
is
that.
how I developed my practice. And I started developing my practice just by observing the senior advocate initially, in the initial stages. I'm talking about initial stages. And keep reading, keep reading, keep reading. Reading is the main, because that analytical skill you will have to develop.
Okay. So, as we have been talking about management, and Raghuvir, you have a keen interest in management as well. So, I would like to ask you, why should law students have management skills though?
Why should law students have management skills?
Yes, sir.
All the more reason what Mr. Mehta has told. His first point was prepare well. That is planning.
Hmm.
If you can't plan, you can't win. And for planning, it is a preparation. See, if I give a small anecdote, if you give me an hour to undertake an activity or do a work, I'll put in 15 minutes for preparing and 10 minutes for doing a work. Putting it the other way around, if you give me an axe to cut a tree, I'll sharpen my axe for 50 minutes and cut the tree for 10 minutes.
Right.
That is the importance of preparation. Then organizing yourself, organizing your material, right? And knowing what is required to be told to the honorable judge. How would you present your evidence? The presentation style has to be learned. What words are to be chosen? That is ability to communicate. It doesn't mean the more you talk, you are more effective. Not at all. The words which you choose will make you more effective, but the way you say it will actually make you more effective. And in my mind, you use each case like a project. So the project management techniques have to be understood, how each case to be undertaken like a project. And above all, I'll also tell you that technology is going to be a handy tool for the future for every lawyer. Who you can't escape from technology. So the future lawyers have to be as good as possible in the technology. And then the most missing point is research. Even in the good universities, the law department has lagged behind in terms of research. If you research, you can bring a lot of improvement, not in your own self, but the entire procedure of law, the courts, and entire legal system can be actually taken care, and your inputs could be provided there to improve. So your research component has to be strengthened. Okay, and then I would also bring another concept of management, that is strategy. You got to choose a strategy based upon not only the case, but the who is on the opposite side. That is, who is the judge, who is your rival advocate, what is he or is speaking, and then you change your tactics every time. That is a short-term strategy. That is, you must have prepared your strategy when you were back at office, but when you come to the court, your rival speaks something different, which you're not, in fact, realized at that point of time. So you should not stick to that tactic. Change your tactic as and when the situation changes. This is where your management concept can play a major part in making you far more effective lawyer.
Correct. So, as you have been saying about strategy, sir, I would like to ask Jaydeep sir a question, that how can law be used for strategic advantage, sir? You have been in this industry for a very long time. You must know how we can use
Uh,
law for
sorry,
strategic
Pooja.
advantage.
Can you repeat the question a little bit loudly?
Sure, sir. I asked that how can law be used for strategic advantage?
Yeah. So let me tell you that. See, strategic advantage. If I tell you, there is some disturbance. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah. So as far as the strategic advantage is concerned, let me explain you that any company that makes proactive use of the law not only manages the corporate risk, but the company, it also helps in enhancing the shareholder value. The law is not just for lawyers either. So the managers must become more astute about the legal environment around them, and they should be willing to challenge and work with the council to achieve best outcomes. See, nowadays, if everybody knows, and let me tell you that now that scenario has changed. Law has not just become a profession; it has become a very big industry.
Right, sir.
So now every company, see, every firm and every company should have, what I personally feel, that every company should have a general legal counsel, or a chief legal officer. So nowadays, many large companies, especially the companies which are listed on the stock exchanges, and for that matter, even now SME sectors, the companies, those who are in the SME sector, they have general legal counsel or the chief legal officer. So one person either in-house, or the work is given to outside firm who oversees the legal functions and reports to the MD or CEO. In many cases, that I have observed, that chief legal officer is also a member of the top management team, who is expected to weigh in all issues, not just represent the legal function. So nowadays, in the companies, the chief legal officer or the general legal counsel, they become a part of the board of directors,
Correct.
and their duty is to find out the loopholes in the law, and by finding out the loopholes in the law, what benefits he can put up before the company.
Hmm.
So law, yeah, is not used just as a law, but we have to use the law strategically,
Right.
so that how the as a chief legal officer, what advantage, what benefit I can give to the company by taking in the law, by taking the advantage of loopholes in the law.
Correct.
So law has to be used very strategically.
Hmm.
Now the law, it has become very challenging. There are varied laws now. It has now in the, if you see the now the new generation laws have also come, like say insolvency law.
Hmm.
Now the GST has come. Now the RERA has also come. So these are very challenging laws.
Correct.
So they have to be used very strategically,
Right.
so that the maximum advantage can be passed on to the company.
Hmm. Right. Uh, so, sir, as you are Jagmeet sir, as you are the vice chancellor of a university, it would be great to ask you a question that has been coming in my mind. That how should the law students be trained so that they can overcome the future challenges that they are unforeseen for the present scenario?
How should the law students train themselves? Yeah, that's your question.
Hmm. How can we train the law students so that they can overcome future challenges?
See, as Mr. Mehta said, the first thing is to observe what your profession is all about.
Hmm.
What is required by your profession? Observe. Like I'll give a very interesting incident, maybe about 15 years back in Jaipur High Court. I went there, for one of our own case for the institute. And one of the senior lawyer that day did not appear. I'm talking about somebody else presenting a case. He gave that case to his junior. And mind you that that boy was not able to speak a single word what is the case about. And the judge has to practically throw him out of the case, of the courtroom. He said, if you cannot speak, why are you here?
Right.
Now, I don't blame that boy because the blame lies at many places.
Hmm.
So the first thing is the lawyer has to have to speak, present his case. So the communication has to be very, very strong. They have to practice in the moot courts, observe people in the real courts, real life situations, and in case of a law profession, it's not a big problem because every district court there are district courts, session courts. They can go there, as Mr. Mehta said, nobody's going to stop them. Observe keenly, see what is required to be done, follow that. It's not a rocket science, not at all. And see, rather than emphasizing more on content, they should actually emphasize more on doing, how to write, how to present, right? How to collect evidence,
Hmm.
how to collate evidence, how to sequence,
Right.
how to convince the judge.
Actually, yeah.
So I would suggest to the students that forget about passing this. Even if you pass with 80%, there is no guarantee that you could be a successful lawyer.
Hmm.
Even if you pass with 50%, you could be a very, very successful lawyer.
Absolutely, sir.
So that content has no relevance. It's what you do with that content is more important.
Correct.
And today, it's not just a profession. You could see it. It has been complete, it's like a corporate job.
Hmm.
Every company today, thank God to, Bar Council of India that they have changed this particular program from 3 years to 5 years. Let me put it this way. Why? Because today you are able to attract very young, highly interested, bright students who are raring to go. Olden days in LLB, we found different kind of people. I got nothing against anybody, but the kind of interest in that 3 year program wasn't as that great as today in these young kids are. They are completely changed lot. And today there are lot of scope in the corporate world, which wasn't there earlier. One, you know, one legal point can bring millions and billions of dollars to a company. Take the example of Kane Energy, take the example of Vodafone. These are the two hot cases in our country. So much there for the law profession
Right.
to take.
So, sir, let me add to this. That is what in the earlier point, I said that law has to be used very
Yeah,
strategically.
it has to be.
So you find out some loophole in the law.
And you cannot fill all the loopholes here. कोई बंद नहीं कर सकता. It's so progressive. The law is so progressive.
Correct.
And let me add one more thing, that now the law has not just become a simple profession, it has not remained a simple profession. Now, very recently, I read that the entire legal industry, the size of the entire legal industry in India is more than 20,000 crore. So you
And
can just
yeah, and not only that, sir, you will find in next 20 years, the kind of cost to the legal aid would be, it will be astronomical, like in foreign countries. It will not be easy to afford a lawyer in the future. Do you remember the olden days where people with skills, in olden days, if you wanted an electrician, he would come running to your house and take away whatever you give. But today, he tells you in advance, for my trip, I'll have charge minimum $500 from you. So that is the future for the people with skill.
Correct. Sir. That I agree with that because being a law student, I agree to all of the things that you are saying. I would, because Jaydeep sir has an experience of so many years, so he must tell a question that was coming into my mind, that how important it for a lawyer or an advocate to go beyond the legal know-how.
can you repeat the question?
Sir, I asked, how important is it for a lawyer or an advocate to go beyond the legal know-how?
See, let me tell you that, see, what we have learned in law colleges, that has to be implemented in our practical life, right? So, uh, and let me tell you, there are many factors which are beyond the legal know-how. So let me tell you, the first one, if I have to tell you, is a written communication, which the sir recently said, that is very important. So a lot of work in the legal profession involves writing. For example, say as a lawyer, we have to write lot of letters, notices, drafting, etc. So the way we write letters and draft emails to clients give us an idea about our English proficiency skills. So written communication is one of the very important aspect which the law student has to learn. Second is self-confidence. So unless you have self-confidence, you will not be able to convince your client effectively. So that is one. Another is very important is time management. The field of law demands a lot of time because one has to sit down and study cases or legal documents. So, for example, say if I, as a lawyer, if I get a brief of some client, then I have to sit and decide how I have to draft, when the drafting should be done, by what time I have to complete my work, and by what time it has to be presented to the draft has to be given to my client. So that entire this, it involves a lot of time. So time management is very important. Another is, as sir has said earlier, is research skills. So before I put my ideas in for drafting, I have to do a lot of research activities. So I have to find out the relevant case law, either of the say relevant High Court or Supreme Court, which will be a support, which will give a support to my case. So research, doing research is very important. That is one. Another is technological connect.
Hmm.
So what I mean by technological connect is uh, the subject, it depends on the subject matter. It may say. So, if it is related to say some engineering industry,
Hmm.
or if it is related to say pharma industry,
Hmm.
so I need to have the basic knowledge of the particular subject matter. So these are some of the important skills, and the most important is management skills, as sir has already explained.
Hmm.
So apart from the legal knowledge, see, legal knowledge is not sufficient
Correct.
to be a successful lawyer. Over and above the legal knowledge which we maybe a lawyer may be having, so these are all the important skills which every lawyer must have.
Correct.
Pooja, can I add to it?
Yes, sir, sure.
Please,
As
please,
an
sir.
academician, as an academician.
Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes.
yes. I am
See,
eager to listen.
yeah, when you look at any problem for that matter, no problem consists of a single domain.
Right.
For example, you take about environment protection.
Hmm.
I'm out there to have environment protection. Not only I understand the environment as such, I should understand chemistry, I should understand economics, I should understand the law, the legal aspect of environment, I should
Exactly.
understand technology, I should understand management.
Correct, sir.
But unfortunately, our education system does not recognize this. So if I am being given a degree in environment science, I'll be packed with all courses related to environment.
Hmm.
So as a university, though changes are happening, as a university, I got to look at in the form of what capabilities I need to inculcate in my students to solve such problems rather than packing them with subjects and giving them the degree and then degree is taken to the market to find the fit with his job. It should be other way around. And let the student choose the degree based upon his interest, his capability. What is that he wants to do after the degree?
So correct.
So that change has to come in our education system. It's been quite long. Nothing much was done. Hopefully, the National Education Policy 2020 bring that change. Though it is very challenging, very challenging.
So, sir, as
So
you have
one more characteristics I want to add here.
yes, yes, sir.
Another important characteristic is honesty. When you practice law, honesty to the client and honesty to the court is very important.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
that is,
That's good for sustainability of or your own profession and reputation. Honesty is going to be the thing.
so practical, just one practical example I would like to give. If some client comes to me and if I promise to him that within 3 days
Hmm.
particular task will be ready, and after 3 days if he calls me and if I tell him that yes sir it is ready, and by tomorrow morning you will be handing over your draft. So again tomorrow morning he will call me on the fourth day, and then again if I tell him no sir it is not yet ready, I was busy. That means you are lying to the client. You are not committed to your client. So when you are telling that within 3 days you will give, so you must complete the task within 2 days instead of 3 days.
Right.
So that will also give you an added advantage, and it will also give you mouth publicity about your practice.
Hmm.
So it will also enhance your clientele base and your image and goodwill.
I think, Mr. Mehta, I'll put this thing on top of everything else. If I had to give this message to my students, honesty with your profession, with your client, with the court is going to be the best policy, and that's what will sustain you as a professor.
Yes, sir. So one more question is I'm very curious to know how you started this project. I have a lot of questions. So one more question to you is that do you think that theoretical knowledge is sufficient for the students to so that they can face the upcoming challenges or the unforeseen situations.
No, Pooja, let me tell you, theoretical knowledge, as I gave you earlier an idea about levels of knowledge, the four different levels of knowledge.
Yeah, right,
Either one factual, when you say theoretical, it's basically factual knowledge. That is facts.
right.
Facts, knowing things. But knowing things is not good enough.
Hmm.
There is a lot of difference between knowing things and doing things.
Implementation is different, sir. I agree.
So you go to higher order
Hmm.
knowledge. That is conceptual. Then how do you relate your knowledge to other aspects?
Correct.
How do you relate your knowledge of law to the courtroom proceedings,
Right, sir.
arguments, writing it down?
Correct.
What knowledge to
So,
use where? And then come procedural. That is ability to put that knowledge in real situation. See,
Right.
situation in the classroom is much different than situation in real life.
Hmm.
So we got to prepare our students for real life challenges. And real life challenges are not hanky dory always.
Correct. Correct.
They are normally heartbroken. So I would advise my students, guys, it's good to have your talent and ability, but the thing is your attitude to your profession and your passion for the profession.
Hmm.
Ability and talent will allow you the entry,
Correct.
right? But to sustain into your profession, you got to do what you need to do with your ability and talent. Give you a case in point, two cases in the cricket. We had most talented person in Indian history, cricket history, was Vinod Kamble. Most talented, much more talented than Tendulkar. But just because of his attitude and problems, he could not succeed at all.
Hmm.
Because sheer talent can get you an entry, but to stay there, your work ethics can only make you successful,
Correct.
not talent.
Correct.
That's my advice to the students.
Yes, sir. The knowledge can make
so
you a good
let me add you, sir, here.
sure, sir.
So the theoretical knowledge is what is taught in the schools and laws colleges,
Yeah.
and practical is to implement what is taught in the college. So both are theoretical and practical knowledge. Both are two sides of a coin.
Correct. Correct, sir. Correct. So, one more question, I mean, last question for the session. If after it, we'll take audience questions. So Raghuvir sir, do you think that the importance of legal knowledge is well equipped in the students right now?
Now, when it comes to the curriculum design, no doubt, our curriculums are very very rich. That's not an issue. See, you go to any profession today. Say, for example, I am into academics. We run 15 different types of colleges under different regulatory authority, whether it's a bar council of India, it is a medical council, nursing council, architecture, Indian council of technology. I need to understand every legal aspect of this. So as a student must realize whether they are in this profession or not in this profession, right? They got to have an essential understanding of law in whatever field they work. There is no field or no profession in our country which is independent of law. Every one of us are bound by the law of the land. Every activity we do, it is decided, regulated by the law. So every one of us, every citizen has to understand law. There is no escape from it. But of course, not final points for that. interpretation, its implications, and how to use it and how to adhere to it is where a law student would be needed. So he or she has to have much deeper knowledge than me and anybody else. If he or she doesn't have that depth, then why should I have a lawyer? So he or she has to have a couple of more steps ahead of every one of us. So there's no escaping. So they're going to keep themselves updated what is happening on the legal framework of the country, right? And what are specific content in their own specific domain, because law then itself has a large number of domains, different specializations. So whatever field they choose, they want to choose the court, they want to choose corporate environment, today's cyber law, or whatever they want to choose. Understand it deeply, and keep reading, keep preparing yourself more and more. The more you read, the more you understand, more you would like to understand, because then you realize that, oh, I don't understand a lot of things. It's only those people who understand less feel within that they know a lot of things. But in reality, a person who knows more realizes that he doesn't know more. That's what his metacognitive knowledge is all about. So as you rise, Mr. Mehta would appreciate the fact that as you rise higher and higher, you get to know, oh my God, I got to learn more and more. Thank you.
So, to add a little bit further, in law, there is a Latin proverb that ignorance of law cannot be excused.
Yeah, it cannot be excused. That's correct.
Right.
So the legal education not only produces efficient lawyers, but also creates law-abiding citizens with human values and rights.
True.
Right. Thank you for the insight, Jaydeep.
Pooja, your voice is not actually audible, to be very frank.
You have to be a little bit louder, Pooja.
Maybe away from microphone or something else.
Okay, is it better now?
Yes.
Somewhat.
So I was saying that because of the audacity of time, let's take one or two audience questions. So
Sure.
Savita has asked that how important is it for the lawyers to be well equipped with management strategy? So Jethro, please answer the question for Savita.
No, who do you want us to answer?
I think, sir, can you please pick up this?
Yeah, see, let me tell you, depends upon the context, no? Suppose if you are heading a large law firm, having multi-sections, yes, management strategy is very relevant. And when you look at the micro level, that is individual, then again you need a strategy. Strategy is nothing. It basically, in brief terms, I'll tell you. Strategy is what is your objective? What is that you want to achieve? And what is the way to achieve that? That is your course of action. What course of action you are going to take? Pre-plan that. This is a forethought idea about it. Okay? And then how well you are prepared to execute it. And then continuously track, are you going into achieving your objective? If not, then change have a mid-course change. So that means you cannot blindly, as an individual, suppose you want to take up a case, you got to decide in your mind, what is that you want to achieve out of this case today? Follow that. Say, for example, you have to take a next date. So your entire effort should be on next date, nothing else. That's your objectives. And now to reach to that, how are you going to pre-plan that? Right? Now, but something else happens in the court. You got to prepare for that eventuality. So you got to pre-thought that what if that doesn't happen the way I want it to happen? There could be something else. In that situation, how would I change my course of action? So that is an individual level, but as the organization grows, the corporate strategy is a complex topic to discuss here. That is all about your growth. That is all about the way you want to grow, right? And then how would you compete with other your other for law firms? So that's a complex issue as of now. How do you merge to become a larger company? All those issues are different, but for an individual lawyer, you got to use your strategic approach for better results. That is what I want to say.
Right. Right. So, Jaydeep sir, do you want to add something into it?
No, but let me tell you, sir, that majority of the lawyers are lacking in management strategy.
आप सही कह रहे हो सर.
Yes, let me tell you very openly that I have observed that many lawyers are lacking in management strategy.
Agree.
So definitely your advice is very helpful even to
Thanks.
me also.
Thank you, sir.
So let me add further that behind every successful lawyer there is always an amazing team.
Yes.
Even for example, say every court clerk,
Yes.
your
Teamwork.
stenographer,
Yes.
peon, and of course your junior lawyer.
Your teamwork
This is
is good.
part of your team, and everybody has to work as a team.
True.
Then only you will grow as a
As a company,
successful
yeah.
lawyer.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. So, thank you Jaydeep, for taking your time out for coming into this
Thank you.
session.
Welcome.
We deserve more appreciation. Thank you, Raghuvir sir.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
and
much.
I hope
Thank you.
this question has been answered.
Thank
Nice
you,
having you,
lawyer.
Mr. Jaydeep Mehta. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, same here, same here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.